hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. The claws in my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me, controlling me. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Monday edition of the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories From Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm feeling a bit better. So we're underway. I've got that going for me. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of energy back. Still not 100%, but I'm moving up the charts. So I hope you guys are all ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are underway for our Monday edition of the Bedtime Stories From Beyond, and I hope you had a good Monday. It's all behind you now, and we're working towards hump day, so wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope it's going well. Got a decent show lined up for you tonight, another Bedtime Stories, so it's a lot of ghost stories normally that we go through on these nights because, everybody can appreciate a good ghost story, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them out there. So it's research-wise, it's pretty friendly to do these shows because there are so many sources for great stories and great encounter stories. And I don't pretend they're all true. I don't know how many are true. But usually if I'm reading a story and it just sounds way out of the norm, more so than anybody's ever talked about, or just a lot of really different stuff, I'll let you guys know, that sounds like a bunch of bunk. But usually the stories we cover, even if they're not factual, they're still talking about phenomena that has been reported numerous times, and so it's not out of the realm of possibility in most cases. So let's get to some of these stories, and we'll see what you guys think. So the first one tonight is coming from California. It says, my mother died in 1978. And 2 days before she died, she asked me and my older brother what we would do if she died. And my mom, being what the family thought excellent health, not taking her very seriously, we jokingly replied what we wanted of her estate. 2 days later, my mom died of a massive heart attack. My mom had always told me that when she died, she would come back to take care of her plants. My mom was obsessed with plants and had them in every room in the house, including the bathroom. The day of her funeral, later that evening, I was laying in bed at my mother's home, and only God knows that this is the truth. Suddenly, my mother appeared in the very dress I had buried her in. I wasn't asleep, and from the bed, I could see her down the hallway, and she was attending to one of her hanging plants that had been one of her favorite plants, and she turned slowly, smiled at me, and vanished. The following day, my stepdad has fallen asleep in the living room, couch and had a large seashell that had a plant in it and was sitting in the coffee table, and no one knew he had broken it. My sister and I were sitting at the kitchen table, and we could see the plant on the coffee table, and it moved from the center of the coffee table to the very edge of the table, and I jumped up to catch it. That's how I knew it had been broken. Mom had come back to tell us. Surely Mom was still taking care of her plants. And that's pretty cool, I guess. If you love plants, coming back to take care of them is pretty important. Because chances are you're not going to find someone that loves your plants quite as much as you do. But that's a neat story. Sorry, I'm like sweaty and stuff. I must be breaking this really hard today. So this one's coming from Virginia. This happened while I was younger, before I moved to Massachusetts, and for the record, it had nothing to do with this haunting that I'm about to tell you. I do not remember much about the house's history. However, I believe there were people in it before us, so it started because I had lots of nightmares back then. And these nightmares would range from things perfectly normal in a nightmare such as falling off a bridge in a car, but the thing that was really odd about them was I could feel and experience the things even though I did not know what it felt like from any of my experiences. And furthermore, no matter what I tried, I could never tell that I was in a nightmare. I simply couldn't think of it. I always thought it was absolutely real. One of these nightmares was extremely odd. You'll want to remember this one for later. One of my nightmares, I got up for some unknown reason, as if possessed, looked out the window, and spotted an orange sky with a very slight purplish tint around the trees that surrounded my circle. And above one particularly tall tree flew 4 owls. And that's all I can remember of the dream before I woke up. Another nightmare includes one that had a continuing nightmare. The first being a large, horrifying abomination that was completely black, with eyes that looked like they could have been glowing yellow and infested with worms to make them look blackly bloodshot. And the second, the same creature was towering over my bed, just staring at me through the whole dream, which did last for a long time. Now here's where it gets really creepy. No more dreams. One day I was in my driveway and accidentally snapped a tree branch, and as it snapped, I heard a deafening, ear-piercing scream that nobody else appeared to hear. I do not know if it was some weird phenomena where I heard the tree or whether a ghost was haunting me. The second sighting, I was in bed. I looked up because I saw something in completely black figure cross the hallway. Despite the door being open and the hallway light being on, I never saw it again, but knew it wasn't a dream because I sat there in the same position, absolutely paralyzed in fear for the rest of the night. In the morning, I wandered out and looked where I thought the thing would have walked, and immediately had a nervous breakdown just because I was that scared of what I could have seen. I thought I saw nothing abnormal. But there was 2 more hauntings. Remember the owl nightmare? Because here comes a real one. For a long time, I thought nothing of the fact that I would occasionally think I see owls out of the corner of my eyes. But I only saw these apparitions through windows or other glass things, and one night, the day before Christmas, I heard a loud thump right outside my window, immediately causing me to hide under my covers screaming. It was a very loud thump. But it turned out that a Christmas wreath had apparently fallen off the window, and I doubt a fluffy wreath could have made that noise that large alone. If you hear thumping right now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a gentleman here redoing the floors in the kitchen and dining room and bathroom and stuff. And so he's working late getting it done. So I apologize if any of that noise is bleeding through. But it's not paranormal. And the worst one was one day when I was in bed, I felt something hurting my toe, and I realized that one of my feet looked really big. So I peeked under the covers, and a small owl was sort of nibbling like a friendly dog does on my toe, but in a bit more of a painful way. I immediately screamed in utmost horror and ran like the Dickens out of the room to my parents, who I forced to come and see, but there's no sign of anything ever having been in there except my bed sheets were all upturned. However, they still recall me annoying them, and that makes me know that it couldn't have been a dream. Ever since then, I've been a bit fascinated with ghosts, and even though even reading stories such as this leave me terrified no matter what I tell myself, I still like reading them. One night I always believed I saw a large pair of eyes staring at me from the far-off woods between two houses. I never looked twice, however. I've not experienced any hauntings in my new house. I'm back to the old house. After I bought a dream catcher, all my nightmares and dreams altogether randomly stopped. And to this day, I still have that same catcher on my window. And I no longer dream. Well, I'm sure you dream. It's just that you're not having those traumatic dreams. That's cool. And I think the key is that if you're going to get a dream catcher, and I think there is something to that, but I think it can't be, one of those at a gas station. You probably should get it from, some First Nations person that makes them from hand, because, it's like having crucifixes made in a Buddhist temple. It's just like, if the spirituality of the item doesn't resonate with the person making it, you of course, if you believe it works, it will work to an extent, but it will only be multiplied if the person that made it understands what everything means. In a true dream catcher, there's a specific way to wind it. There's a specific number of windings. There's certain things that have to be included and balanced throughout the design. It's not just a circle with some cord woven in and out of each other to make a cool pattern. There is a symbolic meaning to it. So if you have a belief in such things, then if you are going to get one from a First Nations tribe. And a lot of First Nation tribes, they have these handcrafted beautiful things, like silver jewelry from the Southwest. The tribes in the Southwest make this amazing silver and turquoise jewelry and opals and stuff, and they sell it for very cheaply, but all these little boutiques are buying it up and ripping people off with it. But if you can get in touch with those tribes, you can find that stuff amazingly reasonable, and it's all handcrafted. It's just beautiful stuff. And these are so you can go to little cliquey boutiques and find that stuff, but I'll guarantee you, you're paying way, way, way too much. Not that people don't deserve to make a living, but I'm just saying, it would certainly probably benefit the tribes more to buy it from them rather than going to little boutiques and finding handcrafted Native American jewelry. Just saying. Excuse me. It's clearing up, ladies and gentlemen. It's clearing up. I'm on the mend. But I think dream catchers there's something to that. It's again, whatever you believe in, there's something to it. But that's because you believe in it. But if something is made with a specific purpose by someone making it that knows what they're doing and what elements should be in there and how it should be arranged, it only becomes more and more powerful. So, just saying. All right, so that was a good one. All right, this one's coming from Nevada. That was Nevada without the voice breaking, not Nevada. If you're, come on. Oh, maybe I should. I wonder if I should read this. Maybe I did already. Let me look quick. I probably did. I'm just checking this out quick because it does references another story this person submitted. Yeah, we did read this one a long time ago. But I'm going to see if I can skip by that part. So it says, if you read my other story, you remember Ray, but if you haven't, I'll save you for the issue of going to read it. Ray was an evil thing that resides in my home, and mainly my littlest brother's room. Once we did a seance and summoned it, and that was one of the worst things I've ever done. Now the thing that doesn't seem to want to leave me alone. Yeah, that generally happens if you're summoning things you don't understand. They will not want to leave you alone. My brothers aren't here every day, so I'm the only one faced with it constantly. A lot of the time I just feel watched. True, there have been other things that watch me, but it's just me being paranoid. This is totally different. I get chills and I just don't feel like moving. And I get really sick to my stomach, and I'm generally an extremely talkative person, but when it's around, I go silent and snippy and bite my brother's heads off, and I even if I assume he's insulting me, which is never. Let me tell you the layout of my house real fast. You come in the front door and there's a step down, and you can go left into my mom's mini living room, straight into the family room, or right into the hallway. The mini living room is and the family room both go in like a circle into the dining room and the kitchen. It's all basically open. If you go to the hallway, the first room you see is Darian's to the left, my parents, and down further is mine and Devin's right across from one another. His is a little further down, a few inches maybe, but at night, when I go out to get water from the garage, I'll come back and I'll always see Ray standing at the end of the hallway. He stands there just looking at me. I see him and I think, serial killer. He has cold dark eyes and slick back longish hair, maybe like 6 foot or so. He's always smirking like, I'm going to get you kind of look. He has broad shoulders and has some stubble along his jawline, and he looks so ice cold and untouchable. I don't look at him. I pass him by inches from him and get that falling feeling in my stomach. The whole left side of my body goes numb and stings. And I finally close my door and lock it because it just makes me feel more safe. I used to feel safe in my room, but lately I get the feeling of being watched in here too. But I'm not so much scared in here. It's like a feeling of being watched from a window. It really creeps me out. And when I'm in my living room, I get the watched feeling. And when I'm in my mom's little area and the kitchen, I think it may be just the fact it's an open space, but there are cold spots in my house. And one day, me and my brother are going to take the digital camera and take pictures to see if there's anything there. But I'm sort of scared to see what may actually be there. And besides that, the area that you come into the house is really creepy for some reason. And I always see something there. The only place I really don't feel watched is in the garage. But that may just be because it's really warm and bright and something like that. I found really strange is a few weeks ago a big butterfly was dead in my garage before the butterflies were really out. We picked it up and threw it away, and the next day there was a huge moth in the same place. I don't know, just a thought that it was weird. I want to do something, but I'm afraid if it doesn't work, he'll do more than just watch me. I think if I tick him off too bad, he'll decide to actually do something, and I wouldn't be able to do anything really religious because my parents are atheists, and I'm Wiccan myself. I don't have the ability to get anything like sage, for instance, and I've lost the privilege of candles and incense due to the itty-bitty problem that I'm a pyro. So my hands are sort of tied here. What do? Just live with it and hope it doesn't escalate? I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know. That sounds like an oppression kind of thing, though. I don't think it's possession yet, but it sounds like some kind of oppression or an attachment of some kind anyway. The next one is kind of short. It says, I've seen a girl, this is from Missouri, by the way. I've seen a girl in green in my house ever since we moved in. When I was 5 and I'm 16 now, I usually see her in my parents' doorway out of the corner of my eye, and she's about maybe 5 foot, 5'3", and wears a green velvet dress that's later 19th century style, and she has really dark brown hair that's pulled back into kind of a loose bun, and I've seen her many times. She usually is walking into the room, and as she does, she looks over her shoulder at me. She looks to be about my age, and I've also seen her in our basement and staring at me in the middle of the night next to my bed. That's so creepy. I'm scared to mention it to my family, and they're all deeply religious and refuse to believe in ghosts. I feel like I was just crazy until my boyfriend was over one night and no one was upstairs but us, and I was in the bathroom and he didn't know that, and when I came out, he had ran up to me and started frantically telling me that he thought he had seen me walk into my parents' room, and when he looked for me, he walked across the hall, walked across the room to the door and saw a girl who he thought was me go into their bathroom. And he says he heard the drawers opening in there and things being moved around, but when he went in, there was nobody there. Then I came into the room behind him and he started freaking out. I don't know why she is in our house. We're the first ones to live here. The spirit seems pretty nice, not evil. It's just upsetting when I'm home alone. Yeah, I guess it's time to have a talk with that spirit and just say, hey, if you're here, fine, but here's the rules. You got to break it down for him. All right, the next one is from Pennsylvania. It's a pretty short one. My cousin is named Travis. He's about 12 years old, and me, I'm 10. At the time, we're staying at his house, and before we went to sleep, he said, I have to warn you, something will happen at about 3 in the morning tonight. And well, knowing Travis, I thought he was just trying to scare me, but I was wrong. It was hard for me to fall asleep from what he said, and I finally fell asleep at 1 and at 3 in the morning, and I felt a light shaking, and I thought it was my aunt, so I said, Aunt Rocky, 5 more minutes? Aunt Rocky, okay. I was wrong. It wasn't my Aunt Rocky. Whatever it was, it shook harder and harder until I burst up from the bed to see nobody in sight. I shook Travis, and I said to him, something just shook me half to death. I was crying of fear, and he said, I told you, and that you were going to get a mean awakening at this time. I asked why. According to him, every night at 3 a.m., something shakes him, and so I asked why it shook me tonight, and he said it was probably because I was new there, and it wanted me to know it was there. But still, to this day, and I'm 17 now, and I'm still afraid of that house, and I never knew what that thing was. Yeah, I don't blame you. Things shaking you awake is pretty creepy. So this one is a long one. This one might be the last one for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I am feeling better, but my voice is still pretty hamburger, so I'm just going to read this one, and I think we'll call it a night. All right. And this one's coming out of Idaho. Yeah, Idaho. Woot, woot. Julia in the house. All right, so let's see what's going on in Idaho. I was crying in my room and all alone, and I cried myself to sleep for almost a whole week. How was I to know the guy I liked didn't really like me? He just used me to get to my sister. You see, my sister and I are the best of friends with huge personality differences. She does sports, and she has many friends at school, and she goes on dates almost every weekend while I'm shy. I do ballroom dancing in the arts, and flirting with the guys just doesn't come very easily to me. So when this guy was flirting with me and talking and taking me out to dances and all the fun stuff, I thought that this was a perfect guy that I could ever dream of. I thought that maybe I wasn't as unpopular as I thought I was. Then one hot summer night, he broke the news to me that he didn't mean to let it become this, and he was so sorry, but I want to know your sister. God, that's cold. And that this is when I started to cry myself to sleep, that long and slow week. 12:30 rolled around, and awake I sat, teary-eyed and just miserable, in the window, still staring out into the darkness, and every time I thought of him, a fresh round of tears would swell up and fall down my face and make the ends of my hair wet and salty. It had been 5 nights, and he had my sister out late, and 5 nights since I had a good night's sleep. I couldn't stand being in my room any longer, and I didn't want to see his car pull into my driveway again and make my broken heart throb in agonies. I didn't want to cry anymore. Angry, frustrated, and sad, I opened up my window, pushed the screen out, and climbed onto the warm summer darkness. Bare feet hardly making a sound on the pavement, my shadow following me as I passed street lights, and I walked down the road. And I was never one to go out into the night, but I had never snuck out before. I never even really thought about walking the empty blocks at night, but it really felt good. There was nobody to see me, nobody to look out their window at me, no one to drive past me on the street, no one. Although I am usually alone, that night I felt completely alone. The night air felt wonderful in my emptiness, and there was nobody to ask what's wrong when I know they really didn't care. The park was so still and so dark, blackness lay beyond the trees, and the playground was so still and quiet. Everything was just mysterious and new to me. And I really did like this new world of darkness. The crickets chirped loudly and the stars shone brightly as I ran off into the trees. The grass was cold on my feet as I ran. "It's almost as cold as Adam," I said, coming between my two favorite climbing trees. They were so beautiful in the night's dim light. I looked between their boughs and up into the stars, and those hot tears springing back into my eyes. "How could you lie to me?" I cried angrily. "How could you use me? Why couldn't you be the Prince Charming you pretended to be? I didn't do anything to you. Why do you want to hurt me?" I couldn't say any more. I was sobbing too hard. I stood there between my trees, sobbing until I passed out or something, and for the next thing I know, I'm lying on the cold ground, not moving, not crying. "She's trying to die. Oh no." A voice far away, yet right next to me, said. I wanted to let out a breath, a voice, or move my eyes, but I couldn't. I could hear something move right close to my ear. And then the voice came back. "You can't die," he said. "I don't think it's your time." I still couldn't move. I was scared. Some guy was speaking right in my ear, and I was paralyzed. I heard him move again, and the next thing I know, he's laying next to me so he can look at my face. A man, young, handsome, and very pale, looked at me with black eyes matching mine. How a man can hurt a woman I don't know," he said. Nothing he was saying made sense to me. But that is no reason to die. Dying is not the answer to every problem. I managed to let out a very small breath and an even smaller moan while trying to speak. "I'm sorry. What was that?" he said. I could now blink and move my eyes, and I saw this tall figure was wearing church clothes. I looked back at him and tried to speak again. "I don't know you," I managed to sputter out. "I know," he said. We laid there for who knows how long, but I laid there silent while he talked to me about who knows what, and I soon enjoyed just hearing him talk about everything and nothing. "I need to go home," I told him, and I climbed slowly to my feet. He stood up too and watching me the whole time. "Yes," he said. "It is rude of me to keep a lady out this late. There need to be more gentlemen like you in the world," I told him. "Ah," he said, and gave me a complete stranger a hug. I've never had a hug like that in my life. "I'm not in the world," he said, "but let me warn you before I leave. Never count on dying to fight pain. Even when others you love do, they'll wait patient until you join them." He sent me off home, and I ran the whole way. I never understood what he meant by his last words until the very next winter. My grandfather died unexpectedly. My cousin took his life. My dog was poisoned and died in my lap, and my uncle passed away of cancer. But the young gentleman's words were always in my head. That's pretty interesting. I guess I can read one more. After all, it's only been a half hour. All right, this one's coming from Florida, and it's pretty long. But this will be the last one, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I sound like I'm in puberty. Oh, God. Okay. Florida. I don't really know how to start or what to say. My story isn't as interesting or long as most on here, and I guess I'll start off with an introduction. I'm 15 years old. I know I'm young, but I really am looking for an answer. I know none of you can give it to me, but maybe guidance to it. I just don't just have one story, and the four I am going to tell you, I can't promise are the only stories. I'm sure I may have experienced more, but memory is not on my side. The first of the incidents starts off with me being thirsty or hungry. I can't really remember. I was walking to the kitchen, and I don't remember the time, but it was dark. The kitchen light was off, and I walked to the fridge. But as I was walking, I started to feel shocked. My legs were walking slower and as if they were getting sticky. Not on the floor, just sticking. I don't really know how to explain it, and as I neared the fridge, I saw a dark shadow figure coming towards me. It was maybe 2 or 3 feet away. I was absolutely shocked, of course, but too shocked to be frightened. In haste, I opened the fridge door light, illuminating the kitchen, and the figure had disappeared. This was in my Michigan home in Kentwood, mind you. Other times I would be in my room, and it would be night, and the light could be on or off. I would just feel suddenly scared. I'd look around and nothing would be there. A few months and a long story later, I moved to the Florida Keys. I started seeing my boyfriend, Chad, and we were together when this happened, and they're still together now. We lived on Cudjoe Key, Cudjoe, and at the time of this happening, we were sitting on the futon, our living room couch at the time, and my head was resting on his shoulder. Slowly I started to fall asleep, my eyes drifting close, and right at that exact point where sleep was about to befall me, I heard someone whisper, "Jesse." Jesse is my name, by the way. Hi. I really wasn't going to state my name, but for the story I suppose it's sort of necessary. I opened my eyes right when it happened, and I felt like I was about to cry. But I wasn't sad or scared. I had a chill down my spine also. I just let it go, though, and passed it off like I did the fridge guy. Now to the third experience I had. This wasn't too long ago. I was in the house I live in now, maybe a week or two, possibly a little longer. I went to grab Chad and a pop, and it was dark, and we have a long hallway where at the very end is the bathroom. To the left is my sister's room, and to the right, mine and Chad's room. I was walking down the hallway, and suddenly I just felt absolutely scared. I quickened my pace a little, and right when I was turning into the little dip where my door is, I heard that whisper again, "Jesse." I didn't exactly run into the room, more of like a very unsophisticated power walk. Chad was looking at me, smiling like, "What the hell?" And I again passed it off, just replied with a smile and said, "Just afraid of the dark, you know?" Now for my last story. It too happened this month. I don't remember which happened first, though. The experience you just read or this. My sister Courtney was calling my name, and I walked out of my room just as she was walking out of hers. Now let me explain something a moment. Our bathroom door opens in, and the doorknob is on the left side. The door was ajar about 3 to 5 inches. Now, as I took more attention, I saw something roundish, face-shaped through the crack of the door, but it was right where the door was. I hope you understand me. I'm not good with explaining myself, as you see. So I looked over and saw what I thought was a face, except it was only the outline of a face. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, no body. Though I really didn't have time to look closely at the face because I looked away so quickly, and once I saw it, I did one of those quick, deep inhales and grabbed onto the corner of the wall for the support, and I felt as if I was going to fall. I looked back, and it wasn't there. My sister looked at me strangely, and again I just smiled and passed it off, saying, "Nothing, just thought I seen something." I thought about it, and maybe it was just one of those light flashes you get from looking at something bright, except Chad and I had the light off, and we were watching TV, so maybe not. What made me wonder if I was hearing or seeing things or not is me and my sister had a talk on our porch the other day, and she told me she was taking out the trash once, and it felt like a hand touched her arm. Very gently, though. My questions are, does it seem I'm hallucinating, or am I really being haunted by a ghost? Also, I really don't have much knowledge in the paranormal, only random things I read and what I see on Ghost Hunters, if the show is in fact true, which I believe it is. So for my question, can ghosts go anywhere, or do they stay confined to one place? I think they can, although I think there are circumstances where they're confined, and it could be an emotional attachment that they can't let go of for some reason. But I think there are ghosts that can travel wherever they want. And it's possible that the attachment is to the person, you know. So wherever the person goes, the ghost can go. I don't know. But I think that's a pretty good night. I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter again tonight, guys. I am sorry, but I'm not quite mended yet. I'm getting better, though. I feel stronger, and I'm sure tomorrow I'll feel even better. But I do love you guys very much. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of our bedtime stories every night. It really means the world. I see Lady didn't make it in. She's having some internet issues, so I'm sorry to see she didn't get in. But hopefully they get her sorted out pretty soon. But take care, everybody. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out, and make sure to find the magic in every day. I'll be back tomorrow night for more of the bedtime stories. You guys have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you then. Be good. Be the best you can be. All right, everybody. Good night.